Hello, hello.
Well, hello, everybody. I know you're very happy. And like I always say thank you to me. All about me, right? Oh, wow. Welcome to Tom Tuesday, actually, and Aquarius Rising Africa, of course. And with special guest star Jessie the Botar, who's joining us this evening. How are you two beauties?
It's TJ Tuesday. So
DJ, exactly. Really good to have you guys here. But before we go ahead, I would just like to again give a shout out to our sponsor for tonight's show, who is our usual Spooky 2. And they are the creators of the home rife machines, which really are amazing forms of frequency. I call it frequency medicine. I really, not only are these guys amazing in what they create, but they are amazing to work with. And I will always give the staff at Spooky 2 the greatest shout out. So if you want to check out their products, you can check out their website on the link that I think is going below now. Use my name, Chantal, drop my name to get a 5% discount on anything you might want to purchase there. So thank you so much again to Spooky 2, and now to Tom and Jessie. And really what we're going to be chatting about tonight predominantly is trolls and harassers. Now, I mean, I know that is not something we give much energy to on this channel because there's just so much of it going around, and we are targeted a lot by all sorts of avenues. And I know especially Jessie and Tom, you guys are high-level survivors, overcomers, and have been in the system from a very early age, obviously groomed in different ways. But I think we were just saying off air as well, it's so nice to be able to connect with our tribe, right? Even though we don't physically feel and touch and get to hug each other, we get to connect in this way. And it's such a nice feeling of camaraderie, of connectedness, that even though we are on other sides of the world or the globe or whatever, we still get to share our truths and what we go through and what we experience as well. So, Tom, I want to give it over to you right now and just say hi.
Yeah, thank you.
It's so great. You know you're our favorite guest here with the ladies, right?
Okay,
Everybody's like,
for feeling it. So yeah, I was gonna say you guys look just lovely, just amazing. I love you guys so much, and it's like that's what I want people to understand, that like people in our chat, our dear friends here, it's like we're a family, and I mean any family could squabble over anything at the dinner table, but why not just lift each other? And that's what we're doing. We're lifting each other. And there's Renee. Oh my God, yay! It's like the Brady Bunch. Anyway, so it's like
there it goes again.
If we don't, then we're missing out on a time to celebrate life. And it's like I have a phrase like, let's skip to the end where we're all happy and celebrating, and we can, and it's like, and seeing you two here, you saw my reaction before we even got on the air, seeing you both here today. It's just like, yeah. It's such a good feeling, and I don't want that good feeling ever to be taken from me. So I'm not going to let people take that feeling from me. I value those I love. And like Jessie, I appreciate all the messages you send me. They're so warm, they're so sweet. And each time I get them, like, yay. And Shanti, like you do too. And it's like, it always means something to me. I don't want to lose that. So nobody messes with my family. And that includes the dear people in the chats. So yeah. And Mornay, who just popped in for a second. So yeah. Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah.
Back to you.
Jess.
Yeah, I agree. It's like going to the source for things. And I think that's how we stay close is, relationship is a decision, and, we all have to decide who are we going to be connected to and who are we not. Those that we're connected to are people that, we invest in. And when you invest, you take time to really get to know each other. If you have questions, you ask, and if there's issues, you work through them.
Mm-hmm.
So, that can be a challenge at times, but, that's what I appreciate, about our group is that, we're good at communicating with each other. We're not, afraid to be vulnerable, to ask if there's things that come up where we're like, like this kind of seemed this way, or, did you take that way? And then we do work through those issues, and that's key. That communication is key, is, knowing how to do that. And there has to be a give and take in that. And I noticed a lot of times it can be hard to build healthy relationships online because a lot of times it's one-sided. Um, and that can be part of the trolls or the harassers. Like I noticed that, like right away, Tom, you and I, we had and Shanti too, we had a great rapport back and forth where there's mutual vulnerability and sharing. But when you have people online who start to target you and all they're doing is they're trying to draw out, they want to hear more of your story. They want to make it all about you. They want you being the sole person talking.
Mm-hmm.
That's usually somebody who's just trying to gather information. And later that information is, twisted, tweaked, taken out of context and, thrown back in your face in a nasty way.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Go hardcore on it.
Yeah.
Just go hardcore. It's like they'll take an issue, they think that they can divide, and they'll constitute it where they'll try to make it divide. And they'll hammer and hammer, like you said, on one issue or something like that. And one of the things they went on us, and I just had a host tell me, and I was like, really? Like there's a host, I won't name anybody, but there's a host that had me on many, many times. I adored her. And then they showed me that all of them were struck. All the interviews were struck. And I went, why would they do that? We're helping the kids. We're doing things that are really good. Why would they do that? And it was over an issue, apparently, where they wanted to make it a side issue, like who's on whose side. Should never been on a who's on whose side issue. And we'll just call it this, tunnels. And it was like, why would people divide over tunnels? In fact, in the original work, in the screenplay, the original work that's got them on the run right now with my situation, tunnels are through here. Tunnels are in it. We have DC with the tunnels under DC. There's a whole city called Wintergreen with tunnels. And it's a city in itself for all the people in the government and everything else. So sure, there's tunnels, but the thing is, like, so they try to make it so that we're divided on, well, they said this and they said this. That's not right. That's out of context. And it's like, then suddenly to have like 9 shows struck that could be helping the kids and helping others because they're taking a side with other people. And it's like, why aren't we all lifting each other and showing that to audiences and loved ones that we all lift together instead of people having to choose sides? It's not a popularity contest. It's all of us trying to work together for the good of others and for a better world. And so I was disappointed in the party, but it's just not my nature. I would not strike something like that. I would leave things up that could do some good. That's hard work by all parties, rendered to do a tool to help make a better world. So if it reminded me of Mean Girls, where it's like they'll just do this popularity contest where it's like lipstick and grease and heels and just slam somebody because they decided that's going to prove their power. And so that's not what we're about. And God bless it, Jessie. Like when they tried to raise this issue with us, we contacted each other right away. And we're like, love you.
It's like, hey, is there a problem? Do you have a problem with me?
No.
Or I don't have a problem with you. We're good.
Go ahead.
And some of the sad part in some of that is that, some of these issues are, top level and are national security issues.
Mm-hmm.
With the tunnels, we have, places that I've indicated in my affidavits that have nuclear weapons.
Sure.
They have biochemical weapons. And, those were things that literally US presidents decommissioned, people in our government decommissioned these weaponry and put them in locations where, it's not really our US military that has control over them. It's the Luciferian Brotherhood
Right.
that can use those at any time. And, that is a security. And what did individuals, top generals were given that information and sat on it for several years. They
Right.
did nothing with it. Why? Because they were part of the Brotherhood. They're serving um, foreign militaries, foreign government. We have people with all this dual status where, they're both working for the US government or military, plus they're working for a foreign government and military, the Luciferian Brotherhood and sovereign military. Plus they're working for, let's say, maybe Israel, maybe Germany, maybe the UK. They've got these rap sheets, spec sheets where, they're serving on multiple militaries, and really they're not serving the people, nor are they really serving the children or
Yeah.
really invested in the children.
Right.
They make it look good, but at the end of the day, you know, what have they really done with information they've been given?
Right. We both
Yeah.
have been groomed for the inside
Yeah.
and been shown information and given tours of different things. And so I've seen with my own eyes. And it's like, I'm not going to let the other side divide us with trolls and things like this to say that, no, you didn't. No, you didn't. There's a lot of upstarts that have come along. And boy, do they get mean when they're called out. And it's like this
Yeah.
idea where I know about wintergreen and you are not going to get into wintergreen as the individual. You're not going to get past the security in there like a Laura Croft with guns blazing and pull out a kid. You're not going to do it. It's just not going to happen. And it's like, maybe for special forces or you're on the inside. If you're on the inside, as you know, we can do something on the inside. And people have accused me of playing both sides. But no, I'm trying to work with the other side to make a good decision. And that's right from the screenplay, where Neo
Yeah.
does that. The Neo character does that, where he works with trying to negotiate to have them make a better choice, like I do at Disney. I think that's a good way to approach it, because nobody's going to get by the wintergreen insecurity if you're a housewife. You're not going to get in there.
Well, I think that that's just part of the attack to, first they're trying to get information. Once they have your information, they try to come up with these scenarios to get more information. But in that, they use those scenarios to try to discredit, to try to hinder, cover up.
Mm-hmm.
Let's call it what it is. Really, there's a destruction of evidence that's been happening for many high-level survivors. This group, they come in, and what is their goal? To destroy evidence. You know, um,
Oh,
and
yes. Yeah.
have they actually gone to places? Have they actually, worked with people who, maybe starting fires under tunnels or doing things like that that were not, part of the, you've got two things. You've got the good military going through, you've got them destroying tunnels systems after they've been there, destroying submarine tunnel lines with flooding. But at the same time, you have a group that is trying to do stuff too that is destroying evidence as well, like trying to pull stuff into family courts and get it dismissed. And the raid at Mar-a-Lago, I think that was a huge attempt to try to destroy evidence. And and I know for you too, we can both testify to that, that,
Yeah.
there's been people put into our lives who their intent was to just bring that destruction. And
And I,
really it makes it unsafe for any survivor to share their stories,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
it is such a, I mean, it is like gritting teeth. First, we have to fight the Luciferian Brotherhood to get our stories out. And it's not just, this random cult somewhere in this small little town, that we're taking on. It's an entire worldwide system. And then, that system has infiltrated our our government, our legislator, our Congress, our House, every avenue, even our judicial system that we would have to seek justice has been infiltrated. And through all that fight, we keep pressing forward.
Yeah.
And then, at every turn, everywhere we go, they're trying to destroy that evidence of our testimony.
Absolutely.
And
Yeah. Gosh.
I think what I'd like to add to this, and this is also working with the both of you for Jessie 3 years now, and I think Tom at least 2 years with you, maybe even 2.5 now. And of course, I've been privy to seeing so much of what is put out there. And I can tell you with 100% certainty that so much of that stuff is concocted. So many of these tweets and things you're seeing, and especially with you, Jessie, as far as that's concerned, I have seen the original tweets, for example, and yet you will see how they take excerpts of the tweets and they make it look pretty damn real, right?
Yeah.
So I can understand how it's so easy for these people to win over the ignorant ones. And I don't mean that insultingly, but seriously, the time for ignorance is over. This is the time that we really have to use our discernment.
Amen.
And,
A woman. Yeah, that's yeah. No, I mean,
seriously. Yeah, because these guys are so good. I mean, and I know for a fact just myself, and I've been targeted, but I've been targeted really not because of my story I'm telling, but because of the platform that we provide. Okay. And I really, people know I don't care. But the stories that have been put out there about me that are supposed to be factual, you could be talking about a different person. They would take certain things like off my website and turn that into something completely different. I'm like, what where did that come from? So I know for a fact that so many of these stories are truly concocted. They will take bits and pieces and piece it together and feed it to those that are ignorant and that have not learned to understand and practice discernment. And that is our weapon. You are your own weapon. And that weapon is faith and discernment, because that's how you're going to figure out your way through this mess, because it is a mess right now. I mean, look where the world is. Horrific stuff going down right now. I mean, look what's happening in Israel. That German girl that was paraded her lifeless body after they did horrific things to her for the world to see on every single news channel viewed by gazillions of people. I mean, how on earth must her family and friends and partner feel? I know she had a partner as well.
Right.
I mean, all of the stuff just to create more fear, more division. I mean, we're having this alien invasion happening, and it's really happening in all, I mean, just the other day, all sorts of things were happening here in Cape Town. So they really are plying us with all sorts of things, as well as on an individual level. So like you guys who are the high level whistleblowers and disclosers will be the highest target. And I think we need to understand that. And that's where we as the general public will know who the true leaders are and who the fake leaders are. We all need good leaders. That's a fact. I say, don't give your power away, but know that not everyone is yet to lead, right? There are leaders that will assist people through these difficult times. But you've got to decide who your leader is. And that does not mean your cult handler. There's a big difference between a cult handler and a good leader. And that's, again, for us to discern.
Yeah, good leaders based on bringing forward the truth. And basically, if you're a minister, you're ministering to your people. You're doing it as a service to them. You're not doing it for yourself. And often, like you said, their big tactic is divide, conquer, plant suspicion. They even have groups assigned to us, don't they? Where I have one called a mortal remnant, where it's just unbelievable that even brought certain hosts in. And it's like they will do things like they'll say the elephant analogy, basically. They'll go say to maybe Jessie and I, they'll go, look, Tom's saying it's the tail, that's the elephant. And Jessie's saying it's the trunk. It's like, it's an elephant. It's like they're trying to divide us over when we're actually saying the same thing on different aspects and different parts of the battlefield, as I said. and we're on the same team. And it's like they're trying to say that we're not. Now, I draw issue with, like I pointed out, Sound of Freedom, and that was not popular to do, but that's our job. And real, all the negative, all the dirty, all that was working with the agencies. And it said the same thing, that they were going in tunnels and saved 3,000 kids and stuff like this. They didn't. They never showed one kid. We need to show our evidence, and we need to stand for each other, and we can't let them divide us, and we lift each other as a family. That's what we do if we're to survive, to get to the other end. We can't let them win their game of divide and conquer.
Yeah.
Right?
And
yeah, go ahead.
the thing is where the evidence goes, there are right channels and there are wrong channels. Both Tom and I, with people that we've worked with, particularly myself, I have asked for absolutely everything to be made public, so it will. But it's not my job to give it all out and allow what, the military is investigating to be made public. That's once it's in their hands, that's theirs, and it will be made public in time. And I see a certain individual here, gray area, made a comment about soon things will be exposed about Jesse's a voter. Um, I am confident that absolutely everything that I have, turned in will be released because I've asked for it to be so. So, there will be things that I'll be putting out, with others, and that will come out, but it's not other people's jobs. And, that's part of the threat too, is wanting to, you know, when you notice individuals who do that, they make it seem like there's some sort of, criminal activity that we've committed. There's something so horrific that, others have to y- get involved or be aware or be notified. I have committed no criminal activity. I am working with people with my testimony. I have turned that in. I've given all that evidence. So, that's a falsehood. If there's anybody out there claiming that there's any criminal activity, I've brought forward how, even in a petition to Congress that I'm still pursuing speaking at, that these people have created, fake arrest warrants for me. They've tried to subpoena me into a court under, false pretenses, all sorts of things. They've claimed that they've got dossiers and indictments on me, making it look like there's some sort of criminal activity. They've accused me of ritually killing my own son, which is not true. And, all these things, how many of us do they target and say that we've committed some sort of criminal activity? They even did this to my mother, um, you know, because she also was raised by the same brotherhood who raised me. And what's interesting is that, her whole life they were threatening, oh, we're going to call CPS, we're going to have your children taken from you. And, it's like if my mother, was so horrifically um, scarred from that group that, she wasn't able to take care of her children, then why did they leave us in her care? The truth was that my mother was a great mother. We were always very close. We worked well as a team together. Um, our whole family worked really well as a team. And there was a closeness there that they didn't like. And they didn't like the fact, what was the factor that they didn't like was that we all were not afraid to tell the truth. We weren't afraid to bring out the truth about our abuse or the things that were happening with the brotherhood. We saw the bigger picture and they couldn't control that. And so that's the truth of the matter, and that's the same for all of us here. We're not afraid to speak the truth or tell things as they really are.
That's right.
Exactly.
You said about child services, and they're
I
so
know they threatened me on that too.
yeah.
We're going to come take your kids. Well, my children are all mostly adults. They care for themselves. It's like I don't even, it's
Uh,
like
yeah.
crazy.
I feel for you. I always think of it as in the future terms too. we'll be judged in the future by those that will be able to see in hindsight. Did we maintain our integrity? Did we maintain our character, who we are? Did we speak our truth even though it was unpopular to speak it? Did we do it as a service to those that need help, like the kids? And that's why for myself, when I spoke about the kids in tunnels and things, I want the kids rescued, and I have to see that they're rescued. I need to see the proof that they're rescued. Otherwise, I'm not going to stop. And that's why I called out Sound of Freedom, because I saw exactly what was going on. I knew the inside word too, and I'm going to call it out. Very unpopular to do that. And now we got a group saying that, they're the only ones that ever saw. No one saw it coming. And I wrote a message saying, I've been saying it from the beginning. And I said, and the reason I said that is because if we are calling it out, then yes, we need to be known for calling it out so that we can complete the job, which we have in plan to make it better when it's called out and finally realized. You have to have a plan in place for the void that follows after the issue is addressed and parties are dealt with. So it's that's why it's important for credibility and credit given to people who are actually saying it, and not for them to be pushed aside by organizations that want to use arrogance to say that they're the only ones that did it. And so I think it's very important for programs like this, where Shanti, you're doing this and putting us on. It's that takes courage. I want to know about your life too, because I feel for both of you. What have you gone? I'm not the host, but you're so gracious. What have you gone through? Because you've done these things and brought people forward to speak their truths. What happens to the host is my question.
Interesting things, definitely. Because I'm connected on a spiritual realm pretty much as well, I definitely see how there are several attempts to do some type of spellbinding. I definitely see that's always, and I've always got an eye for that. So we oftentimes shadow banned. In fact, this channel is very shadow banned. I know that just from what I see as well and what I experience, but I don't care. I don't even give it energy to think about that. I just carry on because I know that God has a plan for me. And God needs me to work this as much as what I need God to guide it. So I have that kind of energy going as I do this anyway, on a personal level. But yes, definitely the accusations of all sorts of things, having pictures sent around the internet, including my granddaughter, stuff like that, that annoys me, because when people start doing that and involving kids, it's disgusting. I mean, there's no other word for it. Lots of trolling, insults, accusations, telling everyone I'm a witch. Everyone loves, I'm supposed to be this witch doctor from Africa. I always laugh and I say, well, if you knew what the true witch doctors in Africa look like, you'd get a fright. But when you come here, I'll be happy to show you, but bring a bag of diapers along. Because I can tell you something, I don't care if you call me a witch doctor, but they would probably be annoyed because they did a lot of training to get there, and it's quite gruesome. So rest assured, I'm far from that. But just lots of accusations, bad-mouthing, accusing me of things, making up stories, writing things. And, always I'm forever being accused of being New Age. And why is Jessie on the channel? So Jessie must be a witch because I'm a witch. Stuff like that. They can't understand Jessie and my connection a lot of the time. Because according to a lot of the trolls, Jessie is a upstanding Christian woman, which I know she is, and I'm this New Age witch, and apparently we have all sorts of connections in the astral plane. I mean, I'm entertained a lot by these things.
But it's entertaining to think about. We could make up lots of fun shenanigans.
Yeah,
that's the temptation. Yeah, that's the temptation.
Yeah.
I was going to do it where I was just saying whatever they wanted, and just acting it out as if it was, the absurdity of it all, playing the part. I mean, in my case, they've called me what? paranoid schizophrenic with paranoid tendencies, bipolar 1 and 2, narcissist, murderer, angry, suicidal. It's like, that's a shopping list. It's like, how could I even appear before you and be one of those? It's
And
like,
they're so skilled. They're so skilled at diagnosing everybody's issues.
mm,
And, it's like how, these issues aren't even true. They assign us labels
mhm,
that aren't even true of us. You know,
right.
that's the truth. It's like none of us have any diagnosis in that realm, It's
Oh
like
gosh, yeah. It's it's a weaponized um, profession. Psych field is a weaponized profession being used with child services in conjunction. They're now showing up with police, with SWAT teams. The psych people show up with them to rubber stamp you away, where there's no trial, no due process, no even a hearing, just gone. You're shut away for life. That's got to stop. And so there's such bigger issues at stake, and that's why I'm glad we're knocking this off, because we're going to get back to work here and address the issues. And the main thing we're showing is we're not going to be afraid to do it. Like I said, I'm feeling in the future, people will be looking back in the future, and they'll be able to see with clear sight, did we do it right? Did we stand by what we saw? Did we cave? Did we compromise? Were we afraid about our image? Or did we stand tall and say what's what? And that's why I said the children need to be rescued. And I'm going to stand, that's going to be my core of what I'm called to do, have the kids rescued. And that's what I put into the train station scene and everything else. So I'm not going to give that up. If it rattles cages, I'm not going to give it up. But I'm going to be friends with those I love that are considered family to me. I'm not going to give that up. But if they cut me off, that's fine. One of the main things the other side does is they bring in these trolls, like we said, that will pretend to be your friend, and they want to isolate you, and they don't ever do any product work. They even call themselves Immortals Remnant or Q. And what happens is they just use up their time and they don't do anything for you. And then they drop the bomb at the right moment. When they're trying to, the other guys are running, they'll suddenly attack you and cut you off and all this other stuff. I think that's more revealing on them than anything else. So I give kudos to those of us that have stood the test of time, and God bless those in the chat and people who have been with us and stood with us through this. It is a lonely journey to get out here and put ourselves on the line, our lives bare, our children's lives before you. And especially when our children have been taken from us and we're told they're killed, it's hard to get on the air. But the thing is, we're going to do it because there's other children that need to be helped. And that's why I stand so firm and will back everything else I said as far as, tunnels and things like that. I'm going to stand that way and take all the trash thrown at me until those kids are shown to be safe. I won't stop. I'm not going to stop running into the burning building until the kids I see for myself, they're safe. Otherwise, I'm going to keep running in that building, if that makes any sense. That's me, and that's all. And so I don't make any apologies for that, but I'm not going to lose relationships and loved ones in the process on schematics and things like that, or rhetoric. I'm going to be like, look, we each see our part to do on the battlefield. Let's do our part, and count on me to break through the lines and deal with my part until I'm showing children safe. And that's why I called out Sound of Freedom. It cleansed it for the agencies. America is one of the biggest traffickers on the whole planet. And they got away with saying, oh, FEMA couldn't go across the border because we couldn't help. But no, we're the worst. This is the worst nation for child trafficking. Anyway, that's what my heart is. I'll continue on. God bless all that are fighting for it. And damn us if we ever come against each other, because we're just to get the work done. It's not about us. It's about the work getting done.
Yeah.
It's about the kids. It's not about us.
And I think that's the harder thing, is that, it's like, what are these children up against? Like, Tom and I, we've been through that system. We know, the extent that they'll go through to silence people who are trying to come forward with the truth. And, if we've gone through it, you better believe every child that's still in this system is going through the same thing. It doesn't stop. It's a generational system. They try to ensure and keep it going. And so, there's things that need to change in our government, in our judicial system, in our legislature. We have laws that make it more difficult for children to tell the truth. We have laws that, allow the perpetrators to, get in there and be present and to keep the silence. How many volunteers in your school systems, in your communities, are brotherhood or sovereign military? How many of those individuals are aware of crimes that are being committed against children in your community, yet they do nothing but protect the brotherhood and protect
Yeah.
their brothers and sisters in that brotherhood? How many of those people are beyond volunteers? How many of those are teachers? Let's go beyond, let's start naming the crimes that are being committed in our communities. You have the rape of children, you have torture, you have satanic ritual, you have organ harvesting, you have meat harvesting, you have adrenochrome harvesting, you have cannibalism that's actively happening in some communities. This isn't something that's just select or just in a third world country. How many of these children coming into our country with immigrants, or, how many times do we send supposed, kind of those people who are considered universal? What does that really mean? Who does the Red Cross really work with? Who do some of these special groups, climate control groups or groups that are going into communities after disaster, or the military groups being sent in there after disasters for relief? Who do they really work with and are connected to? What happens to those children that lose parents in those disasters? We could go to first, were those disasters planned by Luciferian Brotherhood? Were there weather witches, HARP or DARPA that were involved in causing that disaster just so that they can take out adults and have access to the children, which now go undocumented, um, are bought, sold, and traded into the system, and then, their life of continued exploitation begins. um, and what happens to those kids? Who can they tell if they don't even speak our language? you know they don't even speak English. What if nobody around them speaks their language? How are they going to tell about the abuses happening to them? Part of it's
Absolutely.
the age too. The age of the children that they target, 5 and earlier. And they do that specifically, start the horrific abuse at those young ages to desensitize that child to the abuse. They think that, oh, it's okay, it's normal. Just everybody does that here. It's normal to be sexually active at 2. That's what they're taught through that. And they think, oh, it's normal to be passed around. It's normal to be abused when I'm on top of being sexually abused, to be emotionally and physically abused. That's normal. That's, part of my life. That's who I am. And, many of these children are never even given a safe opportunity. And, you know, let's talk about the judicial system that is also buying, selling, and trading our children through, along with CPS. They're private owned. They're not government. Why are they receiving government funding? That's my first question. Who wants to take on that legislative issue? Why the hell is CPS receiving government funding when they're part of the issue of trafficking our children, removing them from their parents, and they're getting paid by the states to do it? I say we all stand up against our states and say, you know what? No, we the people aren't going to allow our federal funding to go toward CPS anymore. You know, we need solutions. We need to know that the kids in our communities are safe. And as a community, we're going to start investing together to make sure that that is really happening.
Yeah.
What about the foster homes? How many of these foster homes are getting paid extra money to allow allow the children in their care to be pimped out? Not only that, now let's go to the school system. How many schools are, and here's what's happening. Let's just say you've got a class of 20, 30 children. Some of those children are selected and chosen by the Luciferian Brotherhood to go through military training. What happens then with that? those children are removed from the class to go to their special training and their intensives. Usually you have a teacher that goes with you. Usually that's the teacher who's employed by the school. Are they getting federal funding, paid to do that by the school on top of they're getting paid through the brotherhood to do it? But then what happens with the other kids? You can't leave them unattended while the teacher's gone. So guess what? The school brings in a secondary teacher who they pay to stay with the rest of those children. That's exploitation of children. The schools know what's going on. It's time to hold those schools and the school boards accountable. Where are those children? How many kids like us are being trafficked through that school system, knowing, there's people who are aware of that, who are running those schools and those educational, maybe the problem stems with the educational board. Are they the ones who oversee the financing for these schools? So there's things we need to start stepping in now, getting together groups in our communities and saying, you know what? We want that right. We want to, we have the right to elect who's on our school board.
Yeah.
And I think everybody should ask. I think it should be a required question that people should have to put on there. They make a disclaimer and see how easy this is. So this is a legislative issue. They're getting away with things because they classify it as a religion. I've already proved the Brotherhood is not a religion, it is a system. So no more exclusiveness, no more 501c3 cover, no more freedom of religion rights. Wipe it out. I'm not going to allow somebody with their religion to be able to continue to commit crimes. That's how they're getting away with this. So
Right.
I say that legislation be changed, that we start to find out, when you go for a job, especially if it involves children, like the schools, the school boards, anything like that, it should be mandatory that you have to respond to the question, are you Brotherhood? Are you Sovereign Military Order? Are you a Mason? Are you an Eastern Star or a priestess? Are you a Christian? Let's classify that. What type of Christian are you? Is this part of your cover? Talk to me about your relationship with Jesus Christ. That's what, I want to know. And I think that, they've tried to classify it as separate, but this is how they've continued the abuse.
That was really well said. Well said. I appreciate what you just shared, the whole length of it. And I think it's important information. I also want to point out, too, that for a child who's been tortured and kept and held and treated terribly, the thing that scars us isn't so much the torture. What scars us most is that people didn't do anything about it.
Yeah.
And that's what hurts us the most. And that's what we carry with us, is why didn't anybody do anything about it? And when you see people cross your path that just passed by that could have done something, that's what hurts the most.
Well, and the deeper thing in that, Tom, the deeper truth is that we had to keep going back. We had to keep being subjected to abuse over and over because nobody would do anything about it.
Polite handshakes, smiles, hugs. Why didn't they help us? It was like they were more concerned about their image and their social schematic than they were with helping kids when they see it right in front of them. And so we really do need to get the agencies back and have people in that actually do care, or form new agencies that actually do care. And so
there are good people. I know good social workers. I know good teachers. I know, good principals, people who really are invested. And those are the people we need in those systems doing stuff for our children. We need to allow them to, the ability to create programs and different school functions that, that they're being stopped from doing. We've got people who know how to safeguard stuff for the kids and are willing to do that.
Again, we
Guys,
all
I'm just
parts. Go ahead, Shannon. Sorry.
Sorry, I'm just gonna ask us just to stop for a break here this moment. A very interesting conversation. I would love us to carry on afterwards because I really feel there's a lot of benefit in this. And just before we break, I want to just add that, Jessie, I so agree with you in what you were saying, you know, in terms of everything coming out and everything stopping. And I want to just at this point mention our new guest on Aquarius Rising Africa, Caleb Jade. For those of you who haven't watched his interviews yet, I really want to recommend that you do, because when we're talking about, like Jessie was doing the Gateway experience a few weeks ago, he was one of those kids in the Gateway experience. So he talks about his experience and, of course, something that is a very controversial topic, the wild hunt, whether is it myth or is it real? Well, listen to his interview and we'll hear, because these are the atrocities that have been committed against children for decades by these freaking monsters. And this is what we're dealing with now. So these are the people that are coming out. You know, Jessie, you've been speaking for, well, I know more than 3 years just on our channel, Tom for 2 years. And I know there's other survivors as well and overcomers that have spoken a lot on the channel. And, you know, and it's beautiful to know more and more people coming out. So really, I want to highly recommend, because this is people that have been through the stuff that Jessie, in your particular experience, has been talking about. So if you haven't watched these interviews yet, he's done 2 so far. The first one was his Gateway experience, and the second one is the wild hunt. So on that note, let us just take a little break before we carry on. We're not finished yet, guys and girls. Thank you, Stacey.
Hi. About a week ago, I felt like I was getting a bladder infection. I was surprised at this because it had been over 30 years since my last one. As the evening went on, the pain increased. And even though I had started drinking cranberry juice and more water, by 4 a.m. I was in pretty good pain and going little bits quite often. But I got the idea to program my rife machine, my GeneratorX Pro actually, for bladder infection. Since I have my generators set up all the time, it was easily done, and I was amazed at how fast the rifing took away the bladder pain. I was able to go to sleep that night, and now it did not totally heal the infection immediately, but it did help with the pain to keep it down, and it helped me to heal faster. And believe me, I was thrilled for having my rife machine to help with this issue. So I thought I would pass this along for others in case they get a bladder infection and they can help themselves. Have a great day. Bye.
I want to just answer, sorry, LS there. We didn't actually do the Cabbage Patch Kids. We will be doing that sometime later, but so just watch that space. Anyway, as I was saying, I was really enjoying what you guys were saying, you know, just in terms of the stuff that needs to be exposed. You know, personally, this is why I do this. And I know I can say the same for Mornay as well. But it's so important for the truth to get out. We living in a world where we've been so disconnected from the truth. Now more and more we're seeing all the subliminal programming, like how they, you know, with all these AI generated images and stuff, they create these, when you're looking at a picture, there's actually subliminal coding behind it. It's not that it's new. It's always been happening. And in fact, I think, Tom, we were speaking about it last week on the show, there's that movie They Live, and if you actually, it's from 1988, and it's where, long story short, but anyway, these guys put on these glasses and they literally see the subliminal coding, they see the aliens in inverted commas, just for, because anything, well, whatever, between us, right? So we're realizing more and more what's been going on. And as we're awakening to the truth, it's scary. You know, it's like we're waking up to a nightmare. Normally we wake up from the nightmare and we go, shoo, that was just a bad dream. But, you know, so many of us are waking up to this nightmare and not really knowing how to deal with it. So that, I think, for many people, because is a problem, because they don't know what to do with all this information. And there's so much information overload, right, that no one really knows who to believe, what to think. This one says that, the other one says this, what about that? And again, I say, it all comes back to discernment, right? And it's your relationship with God at the end of the day that's ultimately going to get us through this. That's my opinion. Then what you guys say?
Yeah. Good opinion. Good opinion. Yeah.
And I think we got to not be afraid to start, you know, equipping and supporting people. If we can't do it ourselves, you know, we need to at least be knowledgeable in how the systems work. You know, not being afraid to understand, you know, what are the governmental, local governmental functions? How does that work? You know, what are supposed to be the safeguards for children in our community? And part of the issue, you know, beyond things being kind of stacked in the way that things are normally functioning within our government, our schools, our hospitals is another big one. You know, there's just so many ways that children are being exploited, you know, beyond the schools, the hospitals, even in our own churches. And, you know, we need to begin to look at, you know, where do we have control or where are we lacking control in those areas as a community? You know, a lot of, you're going to find a lot of local governments are regionally stacked, you know, where you have the Luciferian Brotherhood right in there. You have law enforcement connected to them. You've got your support services, the fire departments, the police stations, the, you know, medical support, and all of that's going to be, you know, in place so that there can be control of information. If anybody in that community is trying to come out and trying to tell the truth, you know, those are going to be the people who are going to be quick to cover up and, you know, do what they need to do to prevent any harm coming to the Brotherhood system at that regional level. You know, so what can we do in that? You know, it begins with, you know, knowing who these individuals are and not being afraid to stand in the truth. Know what your rights are and step into those rights. You know, don't allow them to tell you that you can't speak or you can't run for a position just because, you know, they're going to stack it with someone in the system. You know, if we're all standing against them, they've got nowhere to stand. You know, if we take legal action, they've got nowhere to stand. You know, but that's part of the issue too, is just not even having, there aren't courts that have authority to deal with the crimes that we deal with in the system. You know, there just aren't. There's not a court that has the authority to deal with Tom's issue. Even though, you know, we're trying to take it that way, but the truth is that, you know, you're dealing with a system and that system pulls one person after the other. And, you know, you try to deal with it in a federal court, but really it should be outside, you know, really it's a military matter because, you know, your work is more than that. It's not, you know.
Right. That's what
many of us are facing that issue. Go ahead. Sorry.
Come at them from all angles. Pincer move. Come at them from all angles. And so it's great what you just said. And what we're looking for is attorneys that are actually going to push due process, make sure it's adhered to, make it public, where depositions are public, we can beat them at their own game. And we know, don't we, Jessie, if we're having an effect by their reaction. They react immediately if they're afraid of something, don't they? They are the ones that have the greatest fear on the planet, that, and it is illustrated every time they react. It's like a gut reaction. They'll attack immediately. They'll rage immediately. They'll cut and just mess up signals immediately. And so we know now which way to go. And I respect what you just said. And what we're going to do is hit them from every which way, so they don't know which way to go as they allocate the resources to deal with it. And so by having this situation with this story, like they even said in Game of Thrones, a good story, you know, a good story. All right. Well, what you do is we're going to hit them with due process enforced. Everything's gonna be public. In fact, we have a website going up now where we're going to post every move we make and every counter move they make simultaneously, visible. We're going to ask for depositions right away. We're going to have these guys like Elon Musk, others, depositions, and make it public. 7 hours, which is our allotted time. You think they're going to want to do that? And we're going to ask the hard questions, and we're going to bring it. So we're going to use the tools they have put in place for their own benefit and controlled to invert it back on them. Take the arrows they shot, put them in our quiver, and shoot them back. We have been educated. They have taught us how they operate. They have taught us and groomed us on how they succeed and how they pull the wool over people's eyes. We're going to use what we were taught to disarm them, to turn it around and get the kids free. We're going to not let up. And I think in the future, people will look back and go, well done. You guys didn't give in. You didn't go for personal. You didn't sell out. You didn't have a price. You saw it through with other great warriors. You did it. And I think that's a term that'll be attached to us all, as warriors. And those that are listening in with these beautiful comments, you are with us right on the line. You're right there, because without you, we'd just be voiceless entities echoing in the dark. Without you, we wouldn't have a voice. And so God bless you for your comments and for being there with us as we do this and supporting Chantal's channel. And Jessie, you have a channel too, don't you?
I do.
And
yes.
Supporting Jessie's channel too, and I'm going to have one also. So thanks for supporting the channels and lifting us through the dark times. It is not easy. I'm sure it's not easy just listening and wondering, what can we do as listeners? What can we do? And so,
well, you're actually a brilliant, and Tara, thank you for this. Now, this is not actually, and I'm a great believer in this. Fasting and praying, by the way, is a really, really good thing. In my opinion, it's always worked brilliantly.
Yeah.
And maybe we won't be doing it like every Tuesday, but it could be something that we work towards. I always think, you know, when there's a whole lot of us working together as a group, you know, we uplift each other in that way as well. So I must say, I like that idea, and it would be really something to actually look into, right?
that sounds really good. Yeah, I actually gave up breakfast and lunch. I got so used to fasting that I don't eat breakfast and lunch anymore. I eat a little dinner and that's it. So it's like, it just became part of my way now. Yeah. But yeah, it's like, and it helps me focus on what's going on in the world and what's happening. I think look at the victories that have happened though. Ukraine's been exposed for what it was set up to be by the agencies. Sound of Freedom's been exposed. It's like, they're not succeeding in all their little games anymore, are they? And that includes
Israel is, I believe Israel's being exposed.
Everything's being exposed, isn't it?
Yeah.
And even the trolls are going down. They're more concerned about even making their moves anymore. And I haven't heard boo or butt kiss from the organizations assigned to me. It's like now I'm being told there's a no touch rule on me. Because we've gone through the gauntlet, haven't we? We've gone through the gauntlet and we survived, and they're blown away that we survived. And again, it's those that are with us in the chat and also that they've walked with us through this journey, and God bless them for walking with us through this journey and through the mess of it and the noise and all the complications that were thrown. And like you were saying, Shanti, all the things they compile on where it's like, what do you believe? What do you look at? And it's like, that's what I'm saying. We'll show our evidence. We'll show our evidence. Let's hold it up. Let's show it. Let's just make it very clear and easy for all our followers to follow. And now they're calling this a forgery. It's like, how's that possible? But they're going to throw anything they can. They're like
Yeah.
smart kids.
For mine, it will be brought out on timothycharlesholmstuff.com.
Well, they're not used to losing. They're not used to their playbook that they use so methodically not working, and it's happening now. So this is the time where we can, and no wonder I think what's going on in Israel right now, and that whole mess in the Mideast, and the shadow fogging of what's really going on. I think they need a distraction, but they need something thrown up right now that can take us off our course. But we're like dogged. We're like going right down the trail straight ahead on them, and we're not being divided. Here you are, you and I and Shanti together on the same program, and they didn't daunt us, did they? We're going to continue sending sweet messages.
Yeah, and I think it's important because, like we're in that phase too. I think it's important for people to understand that there are things that are being dealt with in courts and in those higher courts. And, that needs to be the focus, is what really are we dealing with? And we see all these distractions coming in. I see today, they were bringing out things about, the country at war with Israel, that that there were babies beheaded, and they were like, who can do that, and they were targeting that group, which although some of it may be true, it may just be distraction, we don't know yet, but everybody gets their focus then on that and begins to target their attention on that group and what's happening. And yet in the courts, we've brought out, mass amounts of the slaying of children, infants, toddlers, babies, crimes that are being committed by our own US military against children that include bestiality and include, the dismemberments, decapitation. And, it's like, why are we all of a sudden focused on this other country with those things happening when it's happening right here in our own country?
So agreed.
It's happening in our schools.
Yes.
It's happening, in our elderly facilities.
Yeah.
Where they're, consuming human meat and doing stuff. So, it's time for us to wake up. This isn't a third world problem. This is a problem in our country. And if we love our country, if we love our children, we need to deal with it.
They've diverted it to make it look like a third world problem, right? Because one thing I remember, and in fact, Tom, you actually pointed that out to me in the beginning of the Sound of Freedom movie or something, when that guy, can't remember, the one that's been arrested now, was being interviewed. He was talking about, well, in Africa, they were doing this and they were selling babies and they were organ harvesting babies. And I'm going, well, yes, I'm not saying that doesn't happen, but where is most of the African kids being trafficked to? Let's begin with that. And, we know their agenda with Africa to begin with. I mean, we've pretty much been bought. That's, I think, a given. Anyone who thinks Africa hasn't been bought is mistaken. But we'll find our way out.
Absolutely. I agree totally. Like, look at their responses, like the Rothschild one, where they're like, if we lose Ukraine, where the Pentagon and the agencies control Ukraine, they did. The very congressman in my life that's destroyed my life and dogged me is the one that was sent over there to stabilize Ukraine and get rid of their Victor Shokum and things like this. Now they're blaming on Biden, but it was a joint thing with the congressman, an FBI congressman. And it's like, that was a hub for child trafficking. And so if you get rid of their hubs, it's like getting rid of their airports. It's like we're gonna be able to shut them down, and they know we're on them, and they know that people are catching on and believing what we're saying. So I'm so glad you do your program, Jessie. Keep going. I know you will. I'll not stop. And thank you for those I would encourage those in the chat, if you ever get the inclination, start your own program. If you feel called, and maybe we can be guests on your show. It's like, I mean, not to take away from, but it's like, that's what we're here for, is truth. So let's swamp these guys with the truth and not be distracted, like you're saying, Jessie and Shanti. We're not going to go like, oh, Israel, look over there and be totally distracted when we're on
really course. Really covering what's really happening. Like, you don't hear people bringing out the real truths about what's going on. Like one of the things that, I brought up the good things about the Sound of Freedom movie, but there were also things of high concern. You know, we all know about the Epstein Island, and there's video footage that it had incinerators. I've brought out how incinerators are used to create diamonds, and you know they found diamonds. There's video documentation that they found diamonds on that island. Well, now all of a sudden you have military generals that have made contracts with, you know, lab grown diamond companies that are claiming that they're selling lab grown diamonds to the military for weaponry. I call BS on it. Where are those diamonds from, and what are they? What does the lab grown really mean? Are those the children that were tortured and killed, you know, on that island, and now the military has their ashes and remains in diamond form, and they're buying, selling, still profiting off of these children as weapons, So it's time that we need to wake up to the truth and
Yeah.
and call it out. That's what is good about that. What is good about that? And the very individuals claiming to, have done stuff to bring down the bad guys are connected to the very generals buying, selling those diamonds. I've got questions. I think somebody needs to be held to account. Um, you know, lab grown diamonds just don't pop out of thin air. You gotta have some sort of bio something to make them.
Exactly.
You
Exactly.
know,
Wow. That
Yeah.
is shocking. Absolutely. And it makes so much sense. It makes so much sense. Lab grown diamonds. I mean, well, I have a lot of questions around that to begin with.
Right.
And it's really, it's sickening, because that's the only word. It is disgusting. And as you say, unfortunately, and nothing bad against you two and all our amazing guests, but America is the superpower that
Mhm.
really does hold onto a lot of this evil.
It's the
And it,
leader of child trafficking. It's the leader of child
yeah,
trafficking. It's the leader of destabilizing other countries. The FBI does it. They're not supposed to cross the border. Sound of Freedom. They go, FEMA can't cross the border. We can't help you. They're crossing the border all the time. And it's like, it really, Sound of Freedom is a cleansing operation for the FBI and the CIA and the Pentagon to blame other countries for child trafficking. It was a whole done deal with this bankrupt studios, which bought in and used it to do this PR piece and saying they're doing some good. They're not. There needs to be other studios that are coming forward and making what's really going on with the children. And that's what I'm
yeah,
looking forward to. And I'm going to keep encouraging that. And I'm glad people are finally catching on to what that sham was. And it's like, they're trying to say that they're the end all word. But anyway, God bless you for what you're all doing. And let's lift each other and stay strong. And the path is lit. And God bless the whole community here. It's like all of us matter. We're all important. And I want the kids to know we're not stopping until you're all free. We're not stopping. And Jessie, you and I know what it's like to be harmed as a child and to have nobody help us and to just pass by. I'm saying we're not going to let that happen. We're not going to rest until these kids are free, and we understand what you're going through. We understand personally what you're going through. We won't stop because somebody made a sham film saying they handled it. We know it's not done yet. We're going to get there. We're going to not stop until you're free. And the Lahaina children, whatever happened to them, we're not going to rest until this is settled. This has to be, where are those kids? Yeah. And it's important. Every second they suffer is a second they suffer. And that's why.
Did you see footage actually? And I mean, again, I don't know. That's why I'm asking. And maybe someone in the chat will know. I actually saw on Twitter today, I think it was today, that they were showing the fires in Maui. There were actually choppers leaving, helicopters in the smoke. They were showing footage. Now, again, is it real? Is it fake? I don't know. But then they were also showing the type of chopper, I think, and what could fit in there. Basically, they were cargo carrying choppers, basically. So,
which could fit a lot of children. I mean,
yeah.
Military has been transporting a lot of kids,
Right. And that's why, one of the best sources we have are people from the inside that suddenly grow a heart back and decide that they're not going to let this continue. that's what I've been working on. I believe my calling is to try to get people from the inside. I got a lot of flack for it, where I try to work with people on the inside who give me information. And
Yeah.
I want them to see us as the winning side. It even said in Game of Thrones, if they see you as the winning side, then they're going to switch sides. And so I'm trying to do that. And I catch flack for that because what are you doing with the enemy? It's like, these people could be allies. They could turn around and save kids. If that can happen, then I'm going to keep that door open to try to negotiate that happen. You know, instead of making it.
I think the biggest challenge for a lot of them, though, is that, you know, for a lot of the governmental or military whistleblowers, is that, you know, there's documents that they sign upon getting into service that basically tie their tongues, where if they share things about what they've seen on bases or on missions or things like that, it's considered treason.
Sure.
So, you know, there's laws there that need to be changed. You know, we need to be able to have our military report if they see things with children being trafficked or moved, or, you know, or if they've got a general or somebody over them that they've witnessed commit crimes against people, they need to be able to report that. You know, beyond just
Absolutely.
making a complaint. I mean, these things really need to get investigated and dealt with. Even within our own military structure, there's massive crime that's happening.
Right.
You know,
Well, that's why we're doing different components on the battlefield, which is great. Different parts of the battlefield we're on. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to work with the whole group. They like the story. They love the story. They're always fans of the work. Great. Okay, good. Well, then I'm trying to deal with the whole conglomeration, which is all these different agencies that are connected. You've got different countries like Canada, England, Australia, America working together with child trafficking and things like this, and they're doing the wrong. And so I'm trying to get them all to let's sit down and make a good choice and turn around and realize that compassion is more successful and powerful than lack of compassion. So I'm trying to deal with the whole animal at once, the whole elephant. And but each of us have our parts we're dealing with. And so we'll continue on. If we lift each other, we can get the job done. And that's what we're going to do. And I think that's what we did today is we lift each other to get the job done. And we don't
empowering one another too. You know, there has to be an empowering and a of one another and able to do for each one to do their part, because, you know, certain things that, you know, it's such a vast issue that we really do need people taking on different aspects or parts of it. One person can't take on the whole thing. But, you know, I admire that, Tom, that, you know, you've always been somebody who sees that bigger picture. You see the whole picture. You see, you know, all the different parts that need to be addressed. And, you know, I love that, you know, what you just need is you need people to step up and say, hey, you know, where can I fit in? What can be my part?
Exactly.
And to be able to direct that, you know, and that's, you know, that's a great thing. So I encourage people, you know, it's time we need to all start looking together and dealing. It is multi-tiered. You know, we're not only dealing with our own families, our own homes, but our communities, our states, our nation together, and the issue worldwide. Both Tom and I see that issue worldwide, and, you know, it's so vast, and we don't have enough people. We don't have enough help with what we need to do. There's a lot of unwillingness. People don't want to go through the hardship, the struggles, the relentless battle that it is. People give up after a short period of time because they just have no inner grit or endurance. They don't want to suffer, and don't buy into that lie, you know, that Christians aren't supposed to be suffering. Jesus said, follow me, pick up your cross and follow me. You know, we are meant to be in that place of suffering, but many of us don't understand what the discipline of long suffering is.
Right.
You know, Tom, you get that. You are well, you know, versed in that discipline of long suffering, and you have the endurance and the grit to go with it. You know,
so do you.
That's what I love most. I love the grit and the sass and the, you know, Damn, if the enemy's taking you on, you're gonna make it look good.
Thank you. That's the thing. If we're the winning side, they'll switch over. They made that clear.
Right?
They told us how they'll.
And we all look good. And we all look good.
Oh, you guys are fantastic, by the way. Yes, and that's it. It's like, yeah, well, we got them on the ropes. We got them on the ropes, and like you said, there's laws in place or oaths in place they can't break. But in my situation, I've got people from the inside covertly contacting, and letting me know because they're fans of the work. And so I've got this underground connection railway to them. And it's like, it's really cool because then I can get the inside word from Disney, from the agencies, from even Trudeau's group, and they'll let me know because they know I was groomed to lead. And it's like you were groomed to lead. And so therefore that puts the mental responsibility to try to use that grooming for the better, to pull others out.
Yeah,
out. And so
I mean, let's face facts. They couldn't groom you into a position that you didn't naturally have already. All they did was kind of like enhance that, right? So now it's all about just using that and turning it into a different direction. I think that's really all that shifting is. I mean, and I'm talking specifically about, let's say, people that have been groomed in the system and are possibly still there, but really are wanting to come out. It's
Very
really
good.
just turning around what they've forced, and I say forced because that's really what it is. Forced.
Very good.
You guys to do.
Yeah, that's well said. And Jessie, I got to tell you, I love that you always mention Jesus Christ. You always say it, and I'm starting this new show, and I was wondering, should I open it with prayer? With that isolate demographic of the, you go through these little thoughts, and I'm like, kudos to you for just lifting the Lord all the time, and that says a lot to me, and I just want to point that out, that you have the courage to do that. So thank you. But yeah,
I mean, he's the biggest one in the fight with me. Wherever he goes, that's where I am too. So.
It's not my show, but could you close us out in prayer at one point, and then Shanti, it's your show, so you can edit it. But
I mean, I was about to actually end the show and ask Jessie to do that anyway.
Oh, then we're on the same wavelength. That happens all the time.
All good.
Freaky.
Just but as I was about to say, my laptop is I'm on my last maybe half an hour or so of load shedding now, so my laptop's about to die.
All right.
So yeah, Jess, will you end for us?
Great to be here with you. Thank you, and go ahead.
Heavenly Father, we just thank you for this time together, Lord, and we thank you for all that you do, that really this is about your heart, and you see the evil, you see the wickedness, and yet within that you give us strength. Your word says that those who wait upon the Lord shall rise up with wings like eagles. They shall run and not grow weary. They shall walk and not grow faint. Father, we just step into that today. We thank you that you have endowed us with spiritual armor that we need to fight. We thank you that you are our strength, and you are a God of great might and power and authority and glory. And we just give all the glory, the honor, and the praise to you. And we pray this in your powerful name, Jesus. Thank you, Lord.
Thank you, Jess.
Thanks,
thank
Jess.
you, Tom. And thank you to everybody who has joined us this evening or this morning, wherever you are. You can see it, but my shiny cheeks again, so it's dark here. And a special thanks to Stacy, Captain of My Soul, and Kristen. Really, thank you for supporting our show. Really appreciate you guys. And again, a special thanks to all our Patreons. Really, really appreciate you guys. Without you, this channel would not have its nuts and bolts. So really appreciate you all. And on that note, we're going to bid you farewell. We will see Tom again next week. And Jessie, we will see you tomorrow, 9 a.m. Eastern time, 3 p.m. What am I on? Cat time? Cat. I like that, cat. So Central African time. Yeah, cat. I like cats too. So, yeah. Okay, everybody. God bless you. Please like, share, subscribe. We'll catch up with you very soon. Thank you so much for joining us, and have a beautiful, beautiful day. Take good care. Cheers.